Chat, mistakes were made. Look at this. That is an ominous chip, and I can smell it. Well, cheers.
Oh my gosh.
I think the Red Bull's going to help out behind you.
We
Might
may
need a
we may lose Bach here in a moment,
Holy,
ladies and gentlemen.
that is so spicy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Valorant First Strike Closed Qualifiers presented by Nerd Street Gamers. My name is Bach. I'm going to try not to drink. That's a lie. That's not going to happen. I made the mistake of swallowing. Anyway, this was a terrible, terrible idea. We just watched TSM and 100 Thieves go 2-0 in favor of 100 Thieves. So now 100 Thieves is going to be facing off against Sentinels. And honestly, I don't know how I'm still talking without dying. This is so insanely hot. Hold on.
I think we're starting to watch you sweat. Let me help him out a little bit here as he tries to get himself gathered. Yes, it was a 2-0 win from 100 Thieves over TSM, and 100 Thieves once again. I saw a couple of tweets, but all resounding under this idea that the roster, the experiment, is starting to come together. The potential that is in these 5 pieces are starting to gel and come out, and these guys are a force to be reckoned with, Simo.
trust the process. That's the only way that you're going to really find any success with this team. You know, we saw Asuna and Dicey on Immortals prior, and to be fair, we saw them pop off in tournaments previous, just before Dicey and Asuna were let go and then added to this 100 Thieves roster. They were doing amazing things alongside Kohler and the rest of the squad over at Immortals, and now you're seeing them in a position to be supported by some veteran players. But I think really the biggest question that we got to start talking about is how are they going to shape up against this star-studded Sentinels roster, which is it's tough. You've got Sinatra, you've got Shazam, you've got Sick, who just pops off on the battle stage. It's tough.
Yeah, we'll take a look
Let's
at a
go
couple
ahead
of
and
the
take a look at the replay too. I got this.
Welcome
Doug. Don't
back,
worry, I'm
Bob.
fine. I'm still here. I'm still here, sort of.
Is that milk?
Oh, it's milk in my beard. It's bad, dude. Look, I got ice cubes too, so let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights. This was a terrible idea. Why don't you kind of walk me through what happened here with Sentinels as a whole throughout this entire tournament thus far?
Oh, you know, the Sentinels roster, you know, we all talked about, you know, did they kind of let up off the gas a little bit at the end of the open qualifier? How are they going to show up in the closed qualifier? Well, they've made it this far. They've punched their ticket to the top 4, and now it's going to be a battle. I know it's a meme, but it is really going to be a battle for seeding. And as I mentioned previously, when it comes to the top 8 teams in North America, every seed is important. This Sentinel squad, it's interesting to take a look at their compositions and how they choose to play the map, because they still play things like Brimstone. They still play things like Sage. Simo, what is it about that stands out to you?
You know, depending on where the map is, of course, for the Sage, it makes a lot of sense. They use that wall to cut off a lot of rotations and use it in preparation for a play later on in the round, because the wall, of course, takes a little bit of time to develop. There's some ice cream in the hands of Bach, and we're also going to be looking at some ice cream in the hands of that Sage, which throws down those ice orbs, throws down some ice cream on the floor or whatever, what have you. But also the Brimstone, they have a lot of utility on bind for the Sentinels. When they use the Brimstone, they've got the Molotov from the Brimstone, they have the Molotov from Phoenix, they've got Raze to clear things out. They use Brimstone as a pivotal piece to clear out whatever areas they can. But let's talk a little bit about this 100 Thieves roster and how successful we've seen them be over the course of this tournament.
Oh my god. That is brutal. I don't suggest that anyone ever try that. Why did somebody sell this? Why is that a thing that people would want to do to themselves? I did it for you, chat. You were awesome all weekend long. You were awesome all weekend long when we did the open qualifiers as well. Looking at these highlights from 100 Thieves, it seems like the project is working out. Doug, do we think that there is still more to come? Is it possible that 100 Thieves could potentially surprise us all and win the Riot event in just a couple of weeks?
I think it's certainly possible. Again, when you've got that much talent, any dog can have its day, so to speak. And for the 100 Thieves roster, and again, they have the veteran players. They have the young bucks who can frag out. I absolutely lost my mind when I saw Dicey do this. And the thing is, this is them just now getting the wheels rolling, so to speak. Like, we haven't seen the best of 100 Thieves yet. These guys are still continuing to improve, and when you think about that over a period of time, that's terrifying.
I mean,
yeah.
We also have to highlight that Sentinels didn't start off hot right out the gate as well. Yep. It took them some time to get to that Ignition Series form, where they were just, you know, one tournament after another putting on some phenomenal performances. It took time. In 100 Thieves, this roster is like less than a month, 2 months old. Like they need time to get that gel, that synergy together so that they can really show that they are a top 5 team. But the fact that they've qualified technically already makes them close to a top 5 team. They're one of the 8 that is going to be moving forward, and they get to sit pretty while the other teams have to fight things out in the UMG qualifiers.
Now the question is, what teams are we going to get here? Because at this point, they're fighting for seeding. So I'm curious to see, like, are these teams going to hold back a bit? And I don't want to say necessarily not try, but kind of like keep things a little bit more under lock and key, like kind of protect themselves and save themselves for that next potential series coming up in a couple of weeks with Riot, because both of these teams have qualified at this point.
Yeah, that's a valid point. And, you know, there were rumors around White Claw and, you know, kind of what happens there. Is he crying? Are you crying?
I'm crying, dude. My
Are you
nose
crying
is running.
on camera?
I'm eating an ice cream thing because it's so hot. It was such a bad idea. I should have never done this, chat, but, you know, whatever. Live
They
and
pressed
let
4.
learn.
They pressed 4. They should have been pressing F to pay respects, but now it's all up to
They
you.
did. They did. I will say
Right.
this, chat. You've been awesome because you've been like, okay. They started spamming F the second I ate the chip, and I think that they knew a lot more than I did about this stupid thing. As I could tell as soon as I opened it, without even opening the packaging, I could smell the chip. It was so insanely spicy. But this series is also feeling to be spicy. I think that we've got a lot of firepower from both teams, and depending how the map pool ends up shaping up, we should be able to see a solid series. I don't know if we'll go 3 maps or not, but I think we'll have close games regardless. Doug, do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. And I think while that was a very big win for the belt of 100 Thieves, I think they have an opportunity to add on to that here up against Sentinels. And whether or not they'll be holding some things back and keeping some strategies, some set pieces close to chest, this is still a really good opportunity for 100 Thieves to continue to demand that they're a part of that top 3 conversation. They just took down TSM. They've looked really good up until this point. They obviously fixed some things between the open qualifier and the closed qualifier. I'm just really excited to see how high can this roster go. I am very much on the 100 Thieves train right now.
Simo?
Listen, I just have a lot of questions moving into this best of 3 series. We saw that Asuna and Dicey were able to handle the partnership from Wardell, Sabrosa, and oftentimes Joan as well. We saw, especially on that last and final map, how it constantly bounced between the TSM really on that defensive half, just trying to deal with how 100 Thieves were playing. And they try to bring the aggression to the attack, but ultimately sometimes you got to roll it with a little bit more of a passive play style to give yourself more space to retake the site. But they were just trying to bring the issue to 100 Thieves over and over and over and over again. I don't imagine Sentinels are going to play the same way. And if they are, it's really going to be a test to how this duo here of Dicey and Asuna, how they operate under the pressure of players like Shazam, players like Sinatra, who get insane space pushing forward onto sites. I've seen rounds where Sinatra on the Phoenix on Bind will run it back all the way to defender spawn, from A short all the way to defender spawn. He just gets all the way through the site and gets so much space for the Sentinels roster. How are 100 Thieves going to deal with such firepower from the Sentinels?
And
Well,
I think
you
I
know-
just want to add to that super
Go
quickly
ahead.
because it's not even just the firepower. I think the special thing about the Sentinel squad, and we've seen this for a long time now, is they play the game different. Right? I mentioned some of the agents that
Built
they bring in. I mentioned some of the agents that they bring in that are a bit different from how everyone else plays the game. And there have been plenty of conversations and people have said, but pro players have said, you just never know what to expect with a guy like Sinatra. Like one round, he's going to play super far back. The other one, he's dashing into your face with a classic. Like you just never know what you're going to get. So I think the versatility of that squad, in my opinion, is what has made them a mainstay in the top 2 conversation, a household name in Valorant. But again, the thing is, now that they've qualified, while I'm certainly sure they're not going to be just letting their foot off the gas, there are a couple of things that they can probably hold a bit closer to chest.
The other concern right now when I watch Sentinels play is that sometimes the agent pool does feel a little bit stale. We've already heard that mentioned when they play Bind. They still bring the Brim into play. But on the flip side, we saw the Killjoy used at various points from other teams throughout the tournament, and 100 Thieves was one of those teams. And I'm not 100% sold on it on every map. I feel like on certain maps, Killjoy plays really well, and on other maps, it's kind of awkward and clumsy and kind of ham-fisted. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work out for them. You know, like Steel really struggled in that final map in the series against TSM as the Killjoy. We did see a couple of big plays, but at one point I think Steel had like a 1v1 clutch, and Steel was, what, like 7 kills at that point. So Steel really struggled, but in that first map, Steel was one of the best performers for the team. So it clearly wasn't a Steel problem. I feel like just the way the map worked out in general for Steel did not play to his favor, and we've seen that before on Haven. A lot of teams will go like heavy utility stacks on the site. We have Cypher and Killjoy kind of just like dump util and then put a solo player on that site. And it doesn't always work out so well for them in the long run. So I'm kind of curious to see how we're going to see these teams juggle up their agent pool over the long term, because one of the things we've mentioned, and one of the things that made TSM so good for a while, and they're still good, I don't want to say they're bad now, is their ability to agent juggle. The way that they'll consistently swap the agent pool and who's playing what from series to series. If you watch like the Ignition series play out, early on, Drone was playing as the Sova, then he switched to the Phoenix, Wardell was playing as the Sage, Hayes was playing as the Viper, and they kept switching, like just juggling around those roles and responsibilities with the roster. And they were one of the first teams to try not, a Sageless composition. And they were always innovating because they knew if they stayed the same, everyone would be able to read the play. So the fear is over the long run, whether or not these teams can actually do the same thing or if they're going to fall into those comfortable roles. Simo, do you feel like that could potentially be a problem for some of these players who are transitioning from CS and still kind of finding their footing in the game?
Well, I think for 100 Thieves, it's fine. They're still building up that momentum and confidence as a team. If they've got a comp that works for them, they're the complete opposite of Sentinels, as you highlighted. They run Killjoy on every map, and Sentinels run no Killjoy on any map. So they're the complete polar opposite in terms of agent selection. I think as it pertains to the Sentinels, they still have some of the players that are the most important in terms of flexibility. Like Sinatra, for example, is playing the Sova, he's playing the Phoenix, he's playing the Raze. He's constantly flip-flopping between. He's probably the most flexible player in Valorant, in NA Valorant. But on the flip side, I think for 100 Thieves, it's going to take them some time to build up that flexibility, especially when you've got these phenomenal duelist players in Dicey and Asuna. You want to get them on Raze, you want to get them on other things like the Phoenix as well to really pack a bigger punch and make your agent pool bigger. Because once we get to bans, you got to figure something out, right? You need to develop that in advance.
We've got the bans ready now, so we can take a look at the map pools. And it's not the same bans as maybe you were thinking when we're talking about the long term. We could be talking about agent bans, map bans, all sorts of things. But right now we've got the map bans for this specific series. And to kick things off, Sentinels comes in with a ban on Ascent. So we'll be moving to Bind to kick things off. Split is our second map in the series. And then Haven will be the third map. 100 Thieves winning the coin flip, so they'll get their side selection. Bind is a map that we don't really get to see a whole lot of anymore. We haven't seen a whole lot of Bind this tournament, as in general it feels like that's been almost the standard default ban for a lot of teams. They just don't want to play it anymore, maybe because it was so common for so long that they're just getting tired of it, and the meta might feel stale to them, even though this game is only a couple of months old at this point. It's funny kind of saying that, but we will see it here, and we know what 100 Thieves is capable of on this map, but we also know what Sentinels is capable of on this map. I've seen this team dismantle some of the better Bind teams, going back to the old Immortals roster when Asuna was on that team. They were very good on Bind. And one of the ways that Sentinels did it was just by enabling Sinatra to just do whatever he wants as the Phoenix. Doug, do you think that 100 Thieves is going to be met with a little bit more resistance here matching up against a team like Sentinels on Bind?
Yeah, I think it's very possible. The tricky thing is we saw Sentinels on Bind earlier today, and they look really freaking good, right? And we talked about the agents that they bring in and kind of how that has an impact on things. But this Sentinels roster, well, they're the best in North America for a reason, right? I think the interesting thing is that this was 100 Thieves' pick. So they obviously, well, yes, Ascent is off the table, but this is what they wanted and what they wanted first. Sentinels is going to be starting on the defensive side, but I personally am very excited to see if 100 Thieves has something a little bit interesting up their sleeves going into this map.
Simo?
I think for as it pertains to Bind, Sentinels, at least for the closed and open qualifier, don't have an insane amount of reps. Well, it's hard to give a lot of reps to Sentinels when they just swept through everybody yesterday. There's not a lot that we can look at in terms of sample size as it pertains to this map. But I'd imagine Bind is probably one of the scariest maps if you are the Sentinels going up against 100 Thieves. Hiko on the Sova is incredible. He just has great lineups that he's got set up for his team. Hunter's Fury always on point. He's just a scary Sova to go up against. Now, on the flip side, you're really going to be dealing with Shazam on the Sova, which is usually in the role of Sinatra normally on other maps. So the fact that this kind of gets swapped around, you're going to see Shazam on the op, so he's going to be a little bit more detached from the initiation play, which I think actually benefits Hiko in this instance because he can actually play a little bit more further back and just allow his Sova prowess to kind of overwhelm and we'll see it. We'll have to see, of course, of how that pans out.
I mean, one of the pinnacles of, or one of the premier points on this map is hookah. That's what you want to control, regardless of what side of the map you're on. And that was what made that old Immortals roster so good at that, was controlling hookah. You would see Asuna set up with the default boom bot banked off the wall to go into hookah, and then you'd have JC Sani sitting at the bottom of hookah towards mid connector. And as soon as that you heard a shot towards the boom bot, he would paranoia through. You would have the nade pulled out, so the paint shells would go to the right or the left, depending on what Asuna was feeling, and he would peek the opposite direction. It was guaranteed to happen every single round, and they would do it over and over and over and over. I would expect that we could potentially see that same kind of setup here with 100 Thieves, but at the same point in time, we'll have to see what they decide to do as we jump into the series. And again, with the way that Sentinels played when they played against that Immortals roster, one of the counters to that was just playing aggressive in mid. So Sinatra knew that they were going to be setting that up over and over again. So what he decided to do was just curveball out and peek. And you catch Asuna just kind of standing in mid alone, just deploying a boom bot. It was a free kill. A lot of other teams struggled because they would try to play back and wait for them to come to them, and they would just get overwhelmed over and over again. We watched Gen G, I think it was during FaZe Clan, potentially. We saw Gen G really struggle with that, but it was other events as well after that where teams just could not find a solution for the way that that was being played. And it did feel like that was going to solidify itself as the standard of the map, but it never really took off. It feels like it's something you'll see from time to time, but not a lot of teams favor it, which is a bit interesting. We are just waiting for the players at this point, though, to get into the lobby so we can jump into the action. Speaking of the players, I hope my production is ready when I cue this one, but I would love to take a look at the rosters if possible, but if not, that's totally fine too, so we can get an idea of who we're going to be seeing match up against each other. Look at that. They're just ready for everything. On the side of 100 Thieves, you've got Hiko, Nitro, Steel, Asuna, and Dicey. And then on the flip side, for Sentinels, you've got Shazam, Sick, Sinatra, Zoms, and Dapper. So you've got veterans from the CS world on the left, and some veteranship from CS as well, but also in other games. Speaking like Apex Legends, Overwatch, Shazam and Sick obviously played in the higher level of CSGO with teams like Complexity. Dapper never really cracked into that top level, playing with teams like E United, but still was a solid player. I actually casted Mike's first LAN that he ever played at. Actually, it might have been his second LAN. It was a Fragadelphia 0.5 LAN, so it wasn't even our full LAN. It was a half LAN, and he got knocked out and knocked out. I think he had only a few kills in the game. It's kind of funny to see how he's grown as a player and matured, and he's become a serious threat for the team of Sentinels. And then on the other side, you've got those young fraggers, Asuna and Dicey. You know, Dicey was largely unproven when he got picked up by Immortals. People weren't really sure what to expect, and in a few short weeks, he went from being like, oh, what's this guy going to do, to this kid's nuts, could potentially be a top 5 player in North America. It's kind of wild how that happens, Doug.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that's one of the cool things about the lifespan of Valorant so far is you've got household names, right? But you also have unproven talent that nobody's ever heard of that's just kind of waiting on the cuffs, waiting for an opportunity, and once they get the opportunity and the stars align, they seize it, and they become some of the elite, and that's exactly what I think we're seeing with Asuna and Dicey here. Yes, they're younger, they're still a little bit that they have to learn certain things that are intangibles that you'll come across as you develop in your career, but we're seeing some of that flourish, and in my opinion, that's one of the most exciting things about how young this game is, and I can assure you, this is not the last time we're going to see something like this.
Well, I think we're just about ready to jump into the action, so I guess I'll ask for predictions now. Simo, Doug, keep it short. What do you got for me, Doug?
2-1 Sentinels, 100 Thieves. They look good, but this might be the end of the road for them. They're in. This is a fight for seeding, an important fight for seeding, but I think Sentinels will get the best of them.
Honestly, with Ascent off the table, I think I'm inclined to agree. I definitely want the redemption arc for that TSM Jersey incident, but I think because Ascent is off the table, I think that is one of 100 Thieves' best map, and we have to rely on the other 3. And they may not be as proficient as they are on Ascent on those 3 maps. So we'll just have to see, but I think 2-1 Sentinels.
Look, 100 Thieves fan, I might be pandering just a bit, but you guys were in chat, and you were the ones that wanted me to see that chip for the most part. You wanted to see me eat that thing, and I ate it. I ate it for you because I love you, so I'm going to side with 100 Thieves. I'm going 2-1 over Sentinels. I think they've got way more to fight for because seeding is important, but at the same point in time, they're trying to prove themselves and cement their position in the scene. So I think ultimately it's going to be 100 Thieves who comes out on top. So we will see if that's going to be the case. as we are getting ready to jump into the action. The first map in the series is going to be Bind. And will 100 Thieves kick things off with a big win, or will it be Sentinels trying to prove they are still the best team in North America and potentially the world? Simo, Doug, it's all yours.
Thank you, Bach. Enjoy a deep pull of another cold glass of milk, and I wish you and your intestines really all the best over the next hour or so. Simo, this is a big one. This is really it, right? These two teams have already qualified, but this is still a big match. 100 Thieves has everything to gain. When we talk about impact wins, like notable wins, having TSM there is huge. Being able to get with Sentinels is, you're dethroning kings all over the place.
Yeah, I definitely, in my heart, would love for 100 Thieves to come out victorious here. But I just think statistically and looking at how the map pool kind of favored out, Sentinels getting the higher seed, banning away Ascent. We've seen how dominant this team, 100 Thieves, have been on Ascent. And the fact that that's out of the picture, we really have to chalk it up to what other maps and whatever strategies 100 Thieves have in the tank. And ultimately, it does boil down to, of course, Sentinels as well. Is this agent composition with Brimstone going to be effective against 100 Thieves? So far, that's the Brimstone that's out of commission. Nitro's going to take him down, and they're going to break open onto this A site.
Yeah, Sick trying to back up. Provide some sort of cover. Two Roombas are going to cross and pass. The blast pack was there, and as soon as Ghost is actually going to be the one that deals the final blow. As soon as it goes a bit aggressively, as he's trying to provide more pressure up across the pinch point on the map. Steel's going to be able to take care of Dapper. Dicey continues to go aggressive with the Frenzy. One left on the side of Sentinels. Sinatra's not going to be around for long. He's brought down from heaven. A flawless round for 100 Thieves as they come out of the gates swinging.
Okay, let's talk about something interesting. Are you ready for this? Is everyone in chat ready for this? Tell me what Sinatra is playing. Tell me really quickly. And now that you're going to see it, tell me why that's interesting. Because he's not playing Phoenix. They're adapting up against 100 Thieves. They want the battle to be Sinatra versus Dicey. And they're putting that in the hands of Sinatra to say, you are well-equipped to take him down. You're well-equipped to take down Dicey and Asuna, this disgusting combination. That is very interesting to see Sentinels try and adapt and try to change the playstyle. Because I honestly think the Phoenix does bode much better than the Jet on a map like Bind. But we're going to have to see how that pans out. Because Jet and Brimstone, very interesting to see things change up.
Very interesting indeed. Dicey goes up. Dicey is able to get 6. Swings, doesn't have any ammo, unfortunately. He's caught with his proverbial pants down and is going to get taken out at the hands of Zom. But 100 Thieves continuing to push the matter over at A as the fight for U-Haul continues.
So far, not too shabby here for the Sentinels. Of course, it is the force up for 100 Thieves. They won the pistol. They're looking for that second round conversion, but it's down to the 2v1 as it's all up to Zoms up against Steel. Guess what? There's a Phantom on the ground. Look at that. Now Zoms is in a pretty good position. Steel has to peek and go out the smoke, and it's a dangerous smoke. Steel! That's what you like to see. The Sheriff shot right out the smoke. We had talked about, I think off the broadcast, how dangerous those Brimstone smokes are in comparison to Omen smokes. You can't really see a darn thing in there, whereas in the Omen smokes, it's kind of like a dome. You know, you can kind of pop in and out and you can see who's inside. The Brimstone smokes a little bit more difficult to do that. So Steel was going in incredibly blind, but the fact that he goes towards the right instead of the left gives him a little bit more time to get his shot ready. Zom is going to feel that one. 100 Thieves start with 2 rounds in their pocket.
Yeah, it was a wide swing, and really, like, what we saw there was very reminiscent of what we were seeing up with 100 Thieves and TSM, but the spike defuse was just a tap, right? Like, had it stuck, as we saw Hiko do, could it have gone differently? But either way, Steel putting the poorer performance from the last map behind him and starting off strong here. 100 Thieves are in control, and once again, they're hitting A. It's going to be a slightly different look as more presence is coming in from showers, but the site's the same nonetheless.
Okay, well, this is starting off very difficult for the Sentinels. They're just down to 2, make it down to 3, make it down to 2. It's an even matchup, but Shazam is the last one standing now. Got one shock dart left in the tank. The recon bolt is ready. They're going to plant towards that shower side, and Nitro just barely escapes with his life. It's 1v2, Hiko versus Nitro, and Shazam about to enter and try to win this round. It's going to be difficult. Remember, this is a gun round moving in for the Sentinels. And this is a round they were hoping to win. But the fact that it's all up to Shazam, he realizes, okay, They planted for showers. Let me clear it out. Let me pre-fire. But 100 Thieves have been wrapping around him the entire time. Here comes Nitro from the side. And 100 Thieves win round 3. This is not the start I think we anticipated from the Sentinels.
No, Nitro delivered a couple of extra bullets there just to be safe. Make sure no stone is left unturned. 100 Thieves coming out of the gate swinging. They already have 3 rounds on the board. Sentinels don't have a ton of money to work with here either. You see a couple of Frenzies, a Stinger, and then really classics. The rest of the way, 100 Thieves, they were able to also come out of that round. Yes, they lost a couple of folks, but the benefit to that is they're going to be able to come into this with full rifles as well and armor. Hiko looking like he's not going to be bringing armor into the play, but you hear the Bladestorm used to keep that in mind as well. 100 Thieves giving us a slightly different look this time around as they're turning all of their attention over to B. You hear one has gone through the teleporter, but 100 Thieves have control of the site for now.
At least temporarily, Shazam trying to play close with the Frenzy, and guess who's there? Sinatra, the Bladestorm doesn't work out. Sick will trade things out with the Stinger. Dapper trying to play the portal connector. Opts out, gets taken down. 2 members remaining here for the Sentinels, and they're in a really difficult spot. This is one of the most difficult choke points to push through as the defense, and it's smoked off. Dice is playing close. Those shots aren't going to connect. They might injure, but they're not going to be lethal in nature. Down to 4 players. Dicey peeks through, survives. Sick, I don't think was ready for it. But the spike ticks. Sentinels may be looking to try to push through. That's going to be one here for Sick. Headshot's going to connect. It's traded as Zoms. We'll also feel the hurt there from Nitro. 4-round start here for the 100 Thieves as we move into a gun round for the Sentinels for redemption.
Shazam going to be bringing the operator to the fight this time around for Sentinels. Meanwhile, on the side of 100 Thieves, no operator, nothing spicy like that. Certainly not like what Bach just dealt with a couple of moments ago on camera. But for now, it certainly has been a spicy start for 100 Thieves. They have a 4-0 lead. Things have been going really well for them. And I think the impressive thing, Simo, is that they aren't just hitting the same site or the same set piece over and over again. They're showing Sentinels plenty to think about, and Sentinels haven't been able to stop anything.
Oh, this is going to be their chance, and it'll start off hot for Sick. They'll defend the hookah push, but it never really was a hookah push. Asuna was just causing a distraction. But so far, they've been able to stop the plant. It's only Dicey that'll find the refrag, but it's down to 2 final players here for 100 Thieves. The Lamps control was strong enough. The spike's still down. They need to go pick that one up. Hiko will tag up the camera. Does see another player there. Actually, I think he used the... Wait, did he use Hedwig to tank the camera? Holy smokes. I think it was trying to tag a player, but it tagged Hedwig instead. Dicey grabs the spike, rotates over, and now it's all down to the 2v3.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Dicey go all the way around, too. Certainly waiting for Hiko to join. As you see, members of Sentinels have rotated over as well. One of them staying back. It's going to be Shazam, who's still kind of hanging around over by A. But 100 Thieves with the Bladestorm and technically the numbers disadvantage should be able to get onto here with relative ease, but it's Sinatra. Sinatra's going to be on the swing. Dicey's not able to win that. Sinatra's actually going to get the heck out of dodge and preserve his life. Now all members of Sentinels are coming over. Hiko's in a difficult situation.
Yep, he does see one, at least the shoulder of one. Sinatra pushes forward. He's going to find that frag onto Hiko. Sentinels needed an answer back, and they find one in kind. I still think it's very interesting. We have to continue to bring this up. To see Sinatra on the Jet, I don't think... I mean, I'd love to kind of revisit that. I don't have the stats pulled up on my other monitor, but have we ever seen Sinatra on a Jet? It's usually Shazam that plays it on the other maps, right? When we'll see it on the Haven, when we'll see it on Ascent, we'll see it on Split. But the fact that they're bringing Sinatra to this kind of stature that we see TenZ, Wardell, Ojai, varying different, Dicey even as well, for a matter of fact, but to see Sinatra on it, I'm very interested in seeing how it pans out, and if it's brought back in later maps.
Ton of utility being brought into Hookah. You hear the showstopper has been used as well, but no, he's not even going to get a chance. Dicey goes in as well, not able to get anyone yet. As Sick takes care of him. The defensive line in the Hookah holds fast yet again.
Still holding on. We have to remember that it does look like some of the 100 Thieves members a little worse for wear in the economy. While the rounds have been won, they haven't been very... they haven't been flawless. They haven't been perfect, but that's okay. It's all down to Hiko. Unfortunately, the clip runs dry for Sick. Hiko will find himself a parting gift, as it's a 1v2 doable, but both members are on the opposite side where the spike is located. Now, I imagine there might be a play here with the Hunter's Fury, but he may not want to use it in a round that he could statistically lose. There's the swing, there's the frag. The Sentinels will now be within 2.
Very interesting indeed. So I did a little bit of digging, Simo. You had my wheels turning, so I popped over to the spike.gg, took a look at what Sentinels normally run on this map, and you're right, there is very little jet presence at all on this map from Sentinels. So a very different look, an interesting look nonetheless. Oftentimes, you mentioned Phoenix. Phoenix has the highest presence on this map, but you're right, something a little bit different here, asking him, Sinatra, to fit a slightly different role, or excuse me, at least the same role, but in a slightly different manner. And so far, they have been able to get 2 up on the board. Shazam with the operator, getting the best of steel early on, certainly going to help.
Dicey gets a lot of space. That's the orbital strike. Don't really say that too often. Zom's gonna find one. Nitro will feel the fire as Dicey now walks his way into the site, tries to use the smoke as cover. This unfortunately goes incredibly sour for 100 Thieves. They get stuck in a bottleneck, smokes galore. Orbital strike doesn't help. And Shazam able to escape. Great, you know, I think, I'm not exactly sure what the sight lines looked like for Sentinels, because I did see once the smoke subsided that they didn't really have a good angle on A short. So for Zoms to call that orbital strike and find a pick as well, finds its value, right? He would have loved 2, but Dicey, of course, a mobile jet, is going to get out to safety and really get the heck out of Dodge. But the fact that they find 1, and then are also able to flood onto the site, and Shazam with the opening pick as well, those odds just continue to dwindle down and down and down. And by the time 100 Thieves started to trade, they didn't have anything to trade up.
Oh man, 100 Thieves doesn't look like they're going to be bringing much firepower to this gunfight. They've already lost 1 for this fight outside of showers. You also see the member rotating with Sick. He takes a telly. Nitro greets him with warm opening arms, as Asuna does as well, but Zombs is able to take care of him. He continues the carnage. He's already got 3 on the round as members of 100 Thieves just continue to fall apart. Nitro takes the spike and gets all the way over to the opposite site. You already saw, yes, Hiko rotating over as well. They're going to get the spike down.
Hunter's Fury available, and a couple of shock darts. Nitro is going to play point here in the elbow. Smoke's about to go down as well. Doesn't have a paranoia, so he can't bait anything out. Recon Bolt will not spot anything out. A couple of shots up to no good. Shazam going to feel that one down to the 2v2. Doable, but we have to recall Hiko a little worse for wear when in terms of what weaponry he has. Shock darts come through. There's Dicey in the smoke. Nitro's going to find him down to 1 final player. Nitro with the quadra. A thrifty round for 100 Thieves. It went kind of down to the wire there, but it just seems like this B side is a little weaker for the Sentinels, and 100 Thieves may need to find a way to exploit that a little more.
And Simo, honestly, I know that we haven't seen a ton of bind recently in the North American scene, but that's one of the reasons why I love this map, because things like that can happen, right? Everybody invests a ton into one site, and then it's normally the telly, but Omen can pull all the way out and go to the opposite side of the map, and you already had the rotate going over. You're forced, as a defensive side, you're forced to keep resources on both sides up until the very last moment, and then the attacking squad, knowing that you condition them to think that way, you play them into that situation disadvantageously, and then you can expose that as well. So it really is a battle of chess, to be honest, between the attacking and the defending side on this map, and we just saw exactly some of the opening moments of that play out.
And this heavy presence towards this A side has to be so frustrating for 100 Thieves. Constantly looking for a pick, constantly looking for something. They'll find something onto Dapper. But really, like, we consistently see that the B side is really passive for the Sentinels. Round after round, heavier presence towards this A side. And 100 Thieves constantly batting their head into a wall here, trying to break through. But when Shazam's on the opposite side, that's what happens. You peek, you get shot. Zoms finds another one lurking through the showers, and it's just down to 3. They're still committed. They still want to take down this lockdown, but unfortunately, it's Sentinels that can't take it down.
30
Asuna and
seconds
Hiko, they make their way onto the site. It's down to the 2v3. Not looking good for the Sentinels, but now they're trying to escape. Paint shells working out incredibly well. It's down to the final player here for Asuna. And Shazam will take him down. A little bit of a crazy round. A lot going on there. Spike did end up going down, but 100 Thieves can't break through onto the A site.
No, it was chaotic. And again, that lockdown bought enough space for 100 Thieves to work with, but Sentinel's just able to fight right back and take that thing. Furthermore, as you see us prepare and load into the next round, 5 ultimates across the board for Sentinels. They're going to have everything they could possibly want to work with. Weaponry, not going to be as good. You see a Spectre, a Bulldog. The rest of it's going to be just fine. But those ultimates really can define a round, Timo.
They sure can. I think I don't know if I heard correctly. I did see Asuna go a little bit more vertical, use those blast packs to get up and over. He didn't end up using the showstopper there. He had it available and he may have been thinking about using it, but decides to just get up on that truck in that round. But now, once again, this B-side, this weaker B-side for the Sentinels. Shazam trying to use the Hunter's Fury. He's going to almost find a second, but Dicey, the heroics! He saves Nitro's life, and now they're going to make it their way onto the site. Yep, that's the Cypher. Takes him down. B-site wide open for 100 Thieves.
And we've already seen Sentinels use 2 of the ultimates that we talked about, and the other one was taken off the board as they only have 3 members left. They still have their own Showstopper and Bladestorm to work with, but the spike has gone down at the hands of 100 Thieves. They have full control of this B site. Sick was able to get one, but Dicey gets one in kind. 100 Thieves still with the personnel advantage. They have presence all over the site, and the problem is for Sentinels, they're all going to be pushing in from the same site. They're cornered in back towards the defending side of the map, and that shock dart's certainly going to help. You see a couple of smokes coming out. There are a couple bullets delivered. Zombs takes him out. Takes him out. And it looks like they're just going to get out. They're going to cut their losses, take what weapons they can going into the next round. 100 Thieves will get another one.
Dicey's actually interested in chasing them down. I don't think they expect this. That's like, oh, the reloading. He hears the reloading. Oh, Dicey going to take him down. One more player backs in the defender spawn. It's Sick. He'll take him down. Dicey really wanted to take that op out of the hands, but they'll keep it alive, drop it over to Shazam. And to be fair, if I'm going to be honest with you, that operator has been an important factor to the success of the Sentinels. The constant pressure in A short, the immediate peak there from 100 Thieves always ends up with a frag for Shazam. So they really wanted that to go out of the hands, because look at the economy. If they took that down, Shazam wouldn't have had an opportunity this round to have the op, and he would have been obviously with a Frenzy or a Ghost or whatever. So 100 Thieves, another opportunity to take that down, but Shazam, an opportunity to get some opening picks and upgrades for the rest of his team.
Sinatra here on this eco has used the Bladestorm, the ever-important equalizer. Shazam, man, the guy just continues to do it. That time it wasn't down A short, but the results were the same. Yeah, Dicey trades it out, but the damage was done, and I believe... Oh no, that operator's still sitting down there. It looks like 100 Thieves may be able to pick it up and get away with it.
It's going to be a little bit more difficult to do that. Dicey may be looking for an upgrade. Asuna gets into a little bit of trouble, but now he's about to get involved. Hops in through the portal. We'll see if the rest of the team follows. That's Dicey now with the op looking for rotations from the site, but the Sentinels aren't going that way. They're going towards the site the old-fashioned way, through the market. There is a turret there from Steel, and it's still going to be able to spot them out, or at least cause a problem. Sinatra raiding with the Bladestorm on the opposite side. The spike's about to go down. Sentinels have to retake.
Spike planted.
Spike has been planted. Dicey's still on the opposite side of the map. He's going to be sitting there alone for a little while, as all resources of Sentinels have been invested, over onto B. This time, the retake attempt is going to be a bit different. Sinatra's going to dash his way in, as they're going to be applying pressure from opposite sides of the map. Dapper gets taken out. Sinatra with the Bladestorms tries to equalize things, but 100 Thieves hold strong. It's just Sick, who has the showstopper, but doesn't have any more help. Hiko takes care of him. 100 Thieves up big.
Man, his shot darts are always so close to where the enemy team is, always. Just a little to the left, a little to the right. That was almost dangerous for Sick, because he just slightly sidesteps it there. The Phantom could have made it a clutch there. And if there's anyone that's going to clutch, it's Sick. It's obviously going to be Sick. But we're on the last round here of the first half. Could be a 7-5. That's not exactly something to... You know, it's not dominant by any means. 8-4 is not dominant by any means. And for Bind, the only map that we have seen from the Sentinels, they were way more comfortable on the attacking side. So we'll have to see if that's going to end up being the case. And on the flip side, it's 100 Thieves that are more comfortable on the defense. So both teams are going to get what they want moving into the second half. We'll have to see what the Sentinels can do to make this a 7-5.
Yeah, Sentinel showing a bit more of an aggressive look up a short. This time it's not an operator that's waiting on the cusp. It's actually a couple of their players who are waiting there. But elsewhere on the map, Asuna is able to get on the board first as things try to open up around the B site. The spike is not fully committed. There's that aggression from Dapper. He was able to get steal, but he was traded right back at the hands of Hiko.
Yeah, Sentinels finally applying some heavier pressure towards the B site. I wonder if they heard Dicey doing something here. Eventually that recon bolt will spot him out. He doesn't have support here, but he does have a couple of players in the hookah side, and it's smoked off. So now he's going to get the safety. A great presence of mind there from Shazam to pull back. Now it's 100 Thieves that have to worry about Shazam, who's back in the elbow. Shot's going to land onto Dicey. Holy smokes. Down to the 2v2. That's the showstopper that won't land. It's all down to 6.
30 seconds
left. Last round we saw him in a 1v2. Here we see him in 1v2 again. The recon bolt pops out, but Hiko is stronger and mightier. The 3K on the round. 100 Thieves finish 8-4 for the first half.
Yeah, a really good half there from 100 Thieves. And again, they showed a couple of different looks. They showed presence up a short. They showed presence through showers. They went to B. They even played a couple of rounds where they flipped the map. One time through the telly, another time it was through the Omen ultimate. We'll take a look at a couple of the highlight plays from that half. Really, 100 Thieves continue to impress, Simo.
They definitely do, and I just think we have to highlight the skill ceiling of this team, what they're capable of. We just pretty much run the record back over and over again. Young guns with some veterans players, but these veteran players can frag out too. You know, I think Hiko is a big reason to the success of this roster. I know that he's not the IGL, but he probably provides insights, his positioning with the Sova. I'm just very impressed with his Sova play, and not to mention he's still at the top of the leaderboards there for his team. And normally we'd see Asuna, normally we'd see Dicey. Dapper finding a couple of early picks here on the attack, likely going to put Sentinels in a position to start off the half with a win.
Yeah, Sentinels threw everything they had at that B site. They sent members through hookah, and they sent members up B long, so that they had a couple of options, and really 100 Thieves just got mowed over. Steel has 2 freaking health left. He's not going to be able to stand up to that very long. The distractions, the antics of Sentinels coming out in full display there as Sentinels win the pistol in convincing fashion. That was a very aggressive hit towards B.
You know, I was watching Sideshow do a watch party the other day, and one of his criticisms of bringing Killjoy on Bind is, well, we're past that attacking half, but the attacking efforts of Killjoy are very difficult. You can't really utilize her incredibly well in comparison to what you might have in terms of a duelist or in terms of an initiator like Sova or Breach. The fact that we're on the defense now, we might see Steel have a little bit more of a fun time, that he can actually use the Killjoy what it's intended for. Gather information and provide a defensive setup. And speaking of that, look at that B site. Utility across the board, and 100 Thieves playing and stacking towards the A site. They're really relying on Steel to be the factor to say, no, you're not going onto the site, as they deal with Sentinels on this A side. Unfortunately, it's not really going the way they had intended. There's a trade. And now it's down to the 4v3 with Sentinels finding another one here for Shazam, finding a third. The Ghost is singing, and it's singing a tune that says Sentinels are winning this round.
Yeah, but the thing is, for 100 Thieves, they can invest a lot into this fight over here, but that's not where the spike is. The spike is actually going to go down on the opposite side of the map. Steel gets taken out. Six going to plant that thing by himself. Nobody within sniffing distance of what's going down over there. You see Hiko begin to back up and try to stay alive, but with 30 health, that's an arduous task, regardless of who's at the helm. He's getting put in. No, okay. That was certainly one way to go about it, but Zoms giving him a parting gift on the way out into the next round.
Yeah, dips a couple of tea bags in the cup of tea there. Gives him a couple of orange Pico leaves to boot. Sentinels start the 2 rounds. Pretty strong, feeling pretty comfortable. What it does boil down to is this gun round for 100 Thieves. Dicey with the op. An aggressive 2-man peek towards the B-long side, and Sentinels have presence towards that side. Shazam is likely going to feel the pain. He's got the Phantom from range, but Dicey with the op is likely going to be an incredible problem here for Sentinels. What a smoke. What a smoke, too. It stops the recon bolt, but it still reveals them.
Well, we saw members start to dash onto the side. Another very aggressive look, and again, it was pressure from a couple of different sides. Now the different members of Sentinels made their way up B long. It was a bit delayed, but the outcome was the same. They're on there. 100 Thieves is going to have to fight for the retake. Now the cavalry is starting to arrive, but it might be a bit too late, ladies and gentlemen.
One player remains, it's Steel. I just want to highlight how intelligent both teams were in that instance. Okay, so Sentinels, 100 Thieves put up a smoke at the top of the archway there leading into Octagon to stop the recon bolt from revealing anyone on the long side. This would have encouraged Sentinels to pull off, you know, this consistent hit of the B long and the hookah push. It's a consistent B side hit. You send 2 or 3 on either way, and you flop onto the B site and you have control. But the fact that they didn't even bother to go that way once they saw that nobody was there, or intelligently pulled off, anticipating maybe that there's 2 players there, or maybe, you know, we've got more control of the hookah side. It was a 2-pronged approach that worked out incredibly well for the Sentinels. 100 Thieves thought they had the upper hand by cloud bursting that recon bolt, but it didn't pan out, and Sentinels are now within 1 on the attacking side.
Oh, big kill there onto Asuna to open things up. They get the kill, and then they go the opposite way. The thing is, over on that A site, 100 Thieves has lit that bad boy up in many a way. A ton of utility all over the place. They're going to try to work their way to a short. Sinatra's going to get a chance with the operator. Going to miss. Fortunately, is able to back up into safety. But members of 100 Thieves beginning to fall apart. Sentinels with control.
Not really the most ideal weaponry, but once again, Hiko with the Hunter's Fury is going to find 1, find 2. Oh, I told you. The man is cracked with that bow and arrow. Definitely bringing it to the gunfight. Worked out for the 100 Thieves, but they still have 2 more members from the Sentinels to work through. Dicey sees one from distance. Now Hiko's going to find himself an upgrade. Oh, the shock dart, Hiko! Are you kidding me? Now the Headwick comes out, sending a couple of note cards there. But now he's going to take the battle to the fort. He's going to try to chase him down. Ghosts are ringing through. The headshot is good. Are you kidding me, 100 Thieves? Hiko finds the 4K, the shock dart, the Hunter's Fury, and the Ghost of all things with a Phantom in his pocket. 100 Thieves secure the round.
And he gets away with an operator, too. That was everything that 100 Thieves could have possibly wanted. That was a huge thrifty round for them to stop some of this financial bleeding that was starting to take place. And Sentinels, yeah, they're still going to have enough to buy up mostly across the board, Dapper being the one exception. But the heroics from Hiko, yet again, we've talked time and time again about his shock darts and how devastating they can be. I mean, we just saw that on full display there.
Oh, just getting word now that that Envy will knock down Renegades. I mean, they still qualify, but we have to talk about that a little later. An aggressive peek from Dicey sends Zoms to the graveyard. Hunter's Fury now on the Shazam side, looking to try to clear out the hookah side, and does so effectively. Might find a pick, does not. The updraft saves Dicey, but already a player has made their way onto the site. It's Dapper, and he's got a Bulldog, and he sees Hiko, but Hiko doesn't see him. He's just trying to fight for the site. So far, it's not working out for the Sentinels, but here comes Sick. That's the showstopper that takes down Hiko, but it's all up to Shazam. An incredible round falls apart here for the Sentinels, and 100 Thieves are sitting at double digits.
Yeah, very strong defensive showing from them. Sentinels not really doing anything crazy as far as teleporters go or leaving a ton of options open for them. They're hitting a site and they're doing so firmly, right? Like they're investing everything into it, and it's just been mixed results from them. It was an early start, excuse me. They got the pistol the round after, and then they were able to get a little bit more, but since then, 100 Thieves have been able to respond very well. They're still going to have a ton of guns to work with. On the opposite side, however, Sentinels don't have nearly as much. Light armor, a couple of pistols, not nearly looking as well. Sinatra's going to use that Blade Storm that has been devastating time and time again, as it looks like Sentinels is going to try to work their way up A. Sinatra dashes in and unfortunately is taken out before he gets a chance to even fire a single blade.
Suna up above, gets domed by Shazam. See the stim beacon, not something we see a lot of anymore. Trying to give him a little bit more of a higher rate of fire. The Bulldog will find one, but it's all down to Dapper. He's trying to hop, skip, jump his way onto the side of the Frenzy. Likely not going to be as impactful as he would hope. Dicey with 3 HP. A Frenzy bullet would have likely been the end of him. But 100 Thieves, 3 in a row is what they've managed to put together. This is an important round for the Sentinels. It'll decide a lot of economic repercussions. Sick buying down to 0. 300 for Zom. Sinatra at 600. Yeah, they're at max loss bonus, but you lose this one, you risk yourself at map 2, and that's where 100 Thieves might find themselves another 2-0 victory.
Once again, 100 Thieves continuing to impress. Looks like they're going to take a bit of an aggressive look outside of Hookah. There are going to be a couple of members of Sentinels just on the wings, too. You see Sinatra gets a haircut from that operator. The showstopper is going to come out, but it does not matter. The impact, of the blade certainly does. However, as Asuna peeks with him as well, a devastating duo there from the folks over at 100 Thieves.
When we started the series against TSM, I said, especially on Ascent, how are you going to deal with Dicey and Asuna? How? How are you going to do it? This combo is disgusting. They peak together. They win together. They frag together. And Sentinels, they need something to answer. And I'm not saying it has to be an individual person. You have to find a way to play around it. What utility are you going to bring to find success? How are you going to deal with these two players to push them off of their respective, map assignments, right? What are you going to do? Because it seems like at the current moment, TSM couldn't figure it out in a best of 3. And at the moment, we're sitting at match point of map number 1, and Sentinels sure as heck can't figure it out either.
That duo is just filthy, right? They're just filthy at the end of the day. But the interesting thing I think for 100 Thieves is, yes, Asuna, Dicey, they frag out, but look who's leading the scoreboard for 100 Thieves. It's Hiko.
I know.
20 and 9.
I know. It's crazy. This is such a well-rounded team and what they can bring to the table. Because I know that Asuna and Dicey are a big problem for teams. It's difficult to take them off their, off the pedestal. But it's the rest of the team that is also well-rounded. We've seen great games from Steel, great games from Nitro. I don't know why I keep saying it like that. But now we're going to see the push here onto the B site. It's down to the 4v4, and Sentinels are trying to get this spike down.
Oh, you hear the lockdown is going to be used to try to create a little bit of space. Dicey with the operator working his way around as Sick begins to plant the spike. Nitro getting the best of him as he gets the second one onto Sick as well. Nitro looking for the third and give it to him, baby. Tee it up and knock him down. One left on the side of Sentinels, and it's Shazam. He's getting pushed in. Nitro with the 4K.
Wow.
Didn't have very many bullets in the gun, and it didn't matter. 100 Thieves absolutely out of their minds right now with how they're playing Valorant. They take a 1-0 lead over Sentinels.
Moving into this close qualifier, I told myself this is where a lot of teams are going to put it all on the line. We saw some success from teams like Slimy Boogerman. We saw deep runs from Luminosity try to make it out. 100 Thieves, of course, knocked them down. We saw the Renegades, of course, also surprise us quite immensely. There's so much going on in this close qualifier, but the most important thing is that we're seeing a new era of Valorant. We're no longer seeing First Strike is a completely different block in relation to the history of the Ignition series. We're seeing teams come to the woodwork that feel like they're in top shape to be like the #1 team, to be the king of North America, the First Strike champion. And 100 Thieves, they're looking like they're in that form. The fact that they're starting the series off with 1 is a statement piece. It doesn't matter if Sentinels take them down 2-1 at the end of the day. They beat TSM, and they took a map off the Sentinels. This is already the train to success for the Thieves.
Well, and think about this. When we saw them in the open qualifier, it was strong, but they ultimately fell a bit short. They lacked some of the punch that they have now. And here's the thing. When at the state of Valorant that we're in right now, the best teams are going to have to adjust. They're going to have to adjust quickly, on the fly, in between matches, or even during matches. So for 100 Thieves to continue to improve and to show us different looks and show that they're making adjustments and fixing some of the mistakes and giving different looks to teams just continues to impress time and time again. 100 Thieves are going to take a 1-0 lead over the Sentinels. There's still plenty to work on. There's still plenty to play in this series, but for now they are going to have that buffer. Folks, we're going to cut to a very quick break. When we return, map 2 between these two juggernaut squads. Stay tuned.